So before we move on to joining two pieces of 7/8 copper, I'm going to talk about one more thing that I should have talked about earlier, but that's cleaning and cutting your copper. The ideal way to clean and cut your copper is actually to clean it first before we make our cut. Tighten that down a little bit. And the reason for that is that when we clean our copper, that we're always going to have a little bit of copper shavings or scale that comes off the outside of the pipe. And if we were doing that out here at the end of the pipe, then that has the opportunity for those shavings, that scale, to enter back into our copper. We don't want that. And so ideally, once we measure and find out where we need to cut our copper, we don't cut it and then clean it. Is to clean it first. And then we'll make our cut. And that way we don't have to worry about the sand or the scale off the copper getting into the inside of the pipe. We'll speed this up so you don't have to watch me cut this pipe. And then ideally we deburr the inside of this. Anytime you use a tubing cutter, there's a little sharp ridge in here. And what that's going to do is have a little bit of effect on your refrigerant flow as it tries to come through. It's, instead of having a nice smooth surface for it to flow through, it's going to hit those burrs and cause a little bit of turbulence. So several ways you can do that. I'm going to use just a tool, expander tool, get rid of all those burrs on the inside of that pipe. So now we have two freshly cleaned pieces of 7/8 copper ready to braze together. So I have the female coupling side fully inserted to where we seat all the way at the end of this coupling, the male piece of copper. And so as we heat, we're going to heat the male piece first until we bring it up to brazing temperature. And then we're going to move our heat back here onto the coupling and start adding our alloy here to that edge. And we should see that pull in all the way around the piece of copper if we have both pieces up to brazing temperature. So in this case, I'm going to increase my acetylene to make the inner cone a little bit longer. And then I'm going to match that by increasing my oxygen. We'll go a little warmer. Again, increasing my acetylene, increasing my oxygen. And we'll start heating the male piece of copper first until we bring it up to brazing temperature, cherry red. And again, let's plan on about 7 to 10 seconds on bringing that up to temperature. There we go. So once we get the male piece up to cherry red, then we want to bring that back to the coupling. I'm going to go back to my pipe every once in a while just to make sure it stays hot. And then we should be able to start applying our filler to the edge. And we should see that basically suck into the coupling as we bring our heat around. And so just the same way as we did on our 3/8, we should be able to see that alloy come out to the outside of the pipe as well. And that's a pretty good indication of how deep we're going on the inside. I'll stop my torch by increasing my oxygen just a little bit, then turn off my acetylene, then closing both. And then one more time, I'm going to inspect all around the pipe, look for any seams that did not receive the filler alloy. So the key to brazing, whether you're working with 3/8 copper or 7/8 or 1 1/8, really does not matter the size. It's all about controlling your temperature. Don't let the temperature control you, but control the temperature. So we want to get the right amount of heat to bring our brazing surface up to temperature. And then we want to use the heat to pull the alloy into our joint, not to melt the joint or melt the alloy around the joint. That'll just cause a bond right around the edge that can be easily broken. But once we get that alloy to pull all the way back and bond around the entire surface of that coupling, then we're gonna have a strong joint that's not gonna let go. So as you practice, again, a lot of table work, but first you're just gonna work on practicing getting the right amount of temperature onto your copper so that you don't melt it. That's the easiest thing for people to do, is to get it too hot and to melt the copper. So you wanna get really good at that. So when you're testing, we're gonna be looking to make sure that you can get the right amount of temperature on your copper to where you bring it up to brazing temperature in the right amount of time, and that you're able to keep it there without melting the copper. And then we want to see you be able to bond two pieces of copper together here at a coupling like this one. And practice, practice, practice. We're going to give you a lot of fittings. So once we cut those off, when you get done with one, cut it off, grab another one out of the box, start with another one. Just do that over and over again until we bring it up to perfection. Have fun.